Hey everyone, happy Friday. So, super fired up today. We are going to be discussing the topic of Nrf2 activation and activation in our equine friends in the horse community. So, I've invited Dr. Nicola Ducharme on today with me to do this live because she has an absolute passion for her horse and in the horse community. So, she's excited to share with you guys all about the concept of activating the body in regards to the horse community. So let me just add her on here before we go any further. We're a little there we are. We had some technical difficulties on our last live, so we're recording this over
Yes, we
again.
did.
So we're good.
Yay!
Awesome. So good. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Well, let's just get this kicked off right away because I know we're short on time. Let everybody know how you got really involved in the equine community and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I love it. I mean, I've always been very, very passionate about health. I'm a naturopathic doctor, so I have dedicated my life to helping people get better quality of life, just better overall health, and recover from some pretty nasty chronic diseases. So that's always been my life. And then I've always loved horses. I rode when I was a kid. I never had my own horse. I never showed. I was never serious or fancy. But about 6 months ago, I took the plunge and got my first horse at the age of 46. So it's just been wonderful. He's such a little love bug. He's a 7-year-old gypsy, and just the sweetest thing. So it's kind of, then I'm looking at bringing my worlds together and thinking, well, okay, so how can I make sure, I mean, he's really healthy, but how can I make sure he stays healthy? And now I'm in horse communities, just seeing how many cases of injury and lameness and just a lot of different things that are affecting the horses and making them uncomfortable, but also affecting our relationship with them, and limiting what we can do with them, through illnesses, through injuries, things like that.
Absolutely. Well, I think the important conversation too is prevention. And a lot of that has to do with reducing the toxic load on the body. And of course, this involves not only just humans, but animals and all mammals as well. We're all exposed to the toxicity of our environment and the foods we're eating and all of that. And oxidative stress is one of those main factors. So when we're looking at cellular health, oxidative stress is one of the biggest things that we can do, or reducing oxidative stress is one of the biggest things that we can do to prevent a lot of these chronic issues in the body. So will you just give us an overview, Dr. Nicola? You're so incredible at explaining this, what oxidative stress is and why activating the body is so important when you need to reduce this in the body.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, oxidative stress is sort of akin to the production of free radicals in the body. And that happens as a byproduct of our metabolism. That's sort of a natural state of affairs. But when we get chronic stress on the body, when there's injuries and inflammation, when there's a lot of toxicity, that increases oxidative stress, which increases free radicals, which in turn damage the cells. And as the cells get damaged and get worn down, it impacts, every different ability of the cell to heal and to maintain its optimal function. And so, we think of so many of us as sort of our little health nuts. We filter our water, we eat our organic food, we try and reduce the toxins that come into our world. But, we think about it, we get the hose and we fill up the horse's bucket with water. And, in different parts of the country, water quality is different, but there certainly is, increased levels of lead and pesticides and fluoride and all these other chemicals and chlorine, things that we don't necessarily, that aren't going to benefit us as mammals, whether it's a dog or a horse or whatever the mammal may be. It's the same thing. So injuries too, they kick up a lot of inflammation, and so managing that free radical damage is so key, not only to helping horses recover from things that may be going on currently, but yeah, to your point, preventing issues down the road. And it's really so simple to be able to do that.
So we're looking at the concept of activating the body instead of supplementing the body. And this is so key and powerful. And what we're finding that, supplementation is not having the same effect on our body as it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And what we're really finding is that the body was created with its own powerful ability to heal itself. And what we found is that through Nrf2 activation and through Nrf1 activation, there are these very powerful pathways in the body that are responsible for producing antioxidant enzymes. So let's talk a little bit briefly. Of course, want to invite everybody that's watching this live onto our private education group where we'll get more specific. But will you just explain briefly the power of activating the body over supplementing?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting concept and a key concept to really get. So when we supplement, we're putting various things into the body, in various nutrients or herbs or minerals or whatever the case may be, introducing that into the body to sort of top up levels or to try and correct imbalances. And, I'm not saying that that's all bad. I've used a lot of supplements over the years, and I continue to do so in my practice with humans. And there's a couple of supplements that I also give my horse. But that's just assuming then that they're getting absorbed, that they're getting assimilated, that you're giving the right, contributions and the right ratios of nutrients. And that's adding an external substance into the critter, into the big critter in this case, to try and, help them to correct imbalances. The difference with activation is we're really switching on. It's like putting the key in the car and turning the engine on. We're really switching on the cell's ability to heal themselves and the cell's ability to counter the toxins, the cell's ability to squelch those free radicals, the cell's ability to reduce inflammation, the cell's ability to increase glutathione production, which is crucial for detox and our biggest antioxidant for all of us mammals. And it also helps the cells to regulate genetic material. So this whole field of epigenetics is so fascinating, where, the DNA may be as it is. There may be some genetic susceptibilities. And I know, in the gypsies, we look at PSSM1 gene and, how many copies of that, and should we worry about that or not? Well, Nrf2 actually helps genes to be expressed in a more healthy fashion. So it's like saying, we have a recipe, but if you've got a recipe, it depends what you put in the bowl and mix around and what you add as to the finished product. Well, yes. It's the same with our genes. Like, they're the recipe, but we can influence how, the final outcome. And that's something that Nrf2 can facilitate as well.
Absolutely. And it's important along all lines of any living, breathing mammal. I mean, everybody has this pathway in the body. So when you're able to activate it, that's really, I want to be very clear on this Facebook Live. We're not making medical claims, about any specific thing. We are just literally saying that the body was created with a powerful healing mechanism within it. And that is called our Nrf2 pathway, and many other things involved in that. But, when you're dealing along the lines of prevention and you're able to reduce oxidative stress and, make sure that the epigenetic, that the DNA of our body is fine-tuned. And I love the example that you made, Dr. Nicola. I think for some of us laymen, we need those layman terms and those layman examples. What else would you like to share with us regarding specifically, I know we had this conversation along the lines of oxidative stress, mostly in humans, but what do you see being the most powerful thing as it involves the equine community?
Well, I've been talking to people and hearing some really powerful stories of how their horses have responded to Nrf2 activation. So, I mean, everything from health improving with Cushing's disease or Addison's disease to recovery from a surgery or recovery from injury. And some of those stories, I really hope that please get in contact with us and get into our education group, because there are some stories there as well as some of the research about how this is actually working. So you can get much more information there than we have time to go into today, although I'm sure Jenny and I could talk about this all day long, given half the chance. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that our horses, they are mammals and they follow the same principles as us. So Nrf2 activation is working beautifully in them. And like I said, it's such a simple thing to do. It's not an expensive thing to do. It's not difficult to get into them, but it can really make a world of difference. And I've seen that already. And I mean, I'm supplementing my dogs too. I have 2 dogs, one's 7, one's 14, and the 14 one is getting, lumpy and bumpy. And So they're getting Nrf2 activation too, um, because, you know, I think from a longevity standpoint, it's really important, but it's also important from a disease prevention model.
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a rising up of people that are being educated upon the power of prevention. My thing is just letting people know that prevention is the best medicine. I mean, it's so much easier to stay healthy rather than manage disease after it's already presented itself in the body. So I
Right.
think educating people just lights a fire under me. I know that we've been able to do that the last 3 weeks along the lines of autism and along the lines of the Lyme community. So really, this is something that overall and it encompasses an entire overall idea of prevention. And what I love is that we are bringing this concept of letting people understand that supplementing was the old way and now we're on to the new way. I always like to give the example of, the iPhone. I remember when I was in high school, we used pagers to contact people. And now look at where we are, it was 20 years ago now. I'm going to my 20-year reunion here soon, but now we're on iPhones and the technology is so much more advanced. Well, that's what we're talking about, you guys. We are talking about an advanced technology that is literally a secret today. Most people don't know about this, most healthcare practitioners. So we are literally educating people about a different way of looking at disease management and just managing, letting people know too, educating people that the body is so much more powerful than we give it credit for, and that I think the traditional medical community gives it credit for. So there is a rising up of people that are sick of, they don't want to just get on the pharmaceutical drugs and mask the symptom. And this goes for our equine and, mammal community all around, because a lot of times I take my dog to the vet, they're prescribing human pharmaceuticals for our animals. So this is so important when you're looking at it from a veterinarian standpoint. So I'm just really excited that we got to educate people today. And of course, like Dr. Nicola said, we're inviting you to our private education group. We have an entire section completely devoted to the equine community and our furry friends. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. Comment on the video or on the video below in the section and let us know where you're coming in from. So Dr. Nicola, would you like to add anything else before we hop off today?
Well, I was just thinking, one thing that's making me really happy is I'm hearing that more and more veterinarians are getting on board with Nrf2 activation, and they're realizing that, the power of this and what it can potentially do for animals. And I think there's a really good application too. I've got a really, really dear friend who rescues horses. I've got another dear friend who has a rehab facility. I mean, I think these environments are where this can really make a tremendous difference. I mean, it is the prevention. I love that too. But there's a lot of our horses that are really in need and really need that healing power, and this offers it. And I think it's so fantastic.
That's incredible. Well, thank you guys for being a part of our Facebook Live today. We definitely, I think, are on a series here, Dr. Nicola and I. Be coming to you live. Hopefully next Friday we'll be at an event together. So we'll probably be doing that together in the same Facebook Live video. So we're excited about that. But it's just been so awesome to be able to educate, really the community about what we have our hands on here. And just sharing you as a doctor, Dr. Nicola, being able to work hand in hand with you has been truly a blessing. So we're doing great things, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for joining
See you
our
soon.
Facebook Live.
Bye.
Bye.